So we'll see now how to define a risk owner for a particular risk and who exactly is a risk owner. Risk owners is a person who is responsible for. So that person will be responsible for approving changes to the risk definition. And what do you mean by changes to risk definition? So anyone? Changes to risk definition, what is the meaning of it? He will be responsible for that.
Probably is a owner of the business process or something like he can classify that is some of the cases where this is not a risk also. Something like that.
You're not properly audible, Raja.
Okay, sorry. Is it fine now?
Yeah, fine now. Tell me.
Yeah, what I can see, maybe there's a owner of the business process, and he can some of the cases where he can say this, that the choices are not really risk, something like that. He can change the process itself. He's the owner of that process.
Okay.
Something like that.
So somewhat clear, but so when all of you know now how to create a risk, right? So for creating any risk, what all details you need basically? For example, take SOD risk. To create a SOD risk, what all you need?
Functional required and the business process is required.
Correct. Functions are required, and then yes, functions are mandatory, and then rule set, and then business process.
Yes.
Okay, so within that, so if you want to change any of the business process, if you want to change the functions, or within a function, if you want to change, so any part within the risk, anything you want to change, if you are adding it to another rule ID, another rule set. So let me show you. WBC. Into setup. So in the risk, while you are defining the risk, basically you need to define what type of risk it is, to which level it belongs to, the level of the risk, medium, high or low. So all those things, under which rule set it will be mapped to, tagged to. Whatever the mandatory fields are there, the risk type, description, risk level, status, making active, inactive. So whatever the changes you have to do here, and if you want to add one more function into the list, or you want to change the rule set of the risk ID, such changes, any changes, so that has to be approved by the person called as a risk owner. So whenever you are creating a risk ID, here itself we have the risk owner tab. Functions is one thing, rule sets we have seen already, these two we have seen. So then the last tab we will be adding the risk owner. So he will be the owner for that particular risk. So generally you will have a dedicated risk owner for a business process. For example, under basis, I have some 10 risk IDs. For all the 10 risk IDs, you may have 1 or 2 people as a risk owner. So we created 3 risk IDs, but I did not define the risk owner for it. Open it. And if I want to define a risk owner for a risk, any risk ID, SOD risk or critical action or critical permission. So you need to go to the risk owners tab, and then here add, then search for the owner ID. So here there is so we are able to see the 2 user IDs, BMW underscore risk owner 1, LBG underscore risk owner 1. So who are these people? Why only 2 people are available here? So there is a logic behind this. Why only 2 people are available here? The reason behind this is whoever you are decided or whomever you decided he will be acting as a risk owner, that person should be declared under this common access owners. Under setup, access owners manage owner privileges for access management. So access control owners. So in access control, whoever is the owner, that could be risk owner. In next components we get some other owners. So you have to define every person here. So first of all, GRC system has to know who is the owner. So that is what we do here. These are the list of people and what is his owner type. He is a firefighter ID controller. He is a firefighter ID owner. Mitigation approvers. We'll come to this. What are these other types? Let me create one now for our person. So when you click on create, you need to give the name of the ID. So search for the ID. So first thing is the user ID should exist in the GRC system. Then only you can search here and then define it as a owner. And then tick what is his role. So here we have the roles and responsibilities. Here we have risk owners are assigned to risks and are commonly responsible for approving changes to risk definition and violations of the risk. Risk owners may also receive conflicting and critical action alerts. So this is what I have discussed so far. Approving changes to the risk definition and violations of the risk. So if any user has a risk, even this person will take approval. So for approving that particular risk. So let us see from the first beginning steps how to define a risk owner. So going back to document once again. So these are the steps to create the risk owner. Create the user ID in the GRC system with the necessary authorizations. So in the GRC system, the user ID should exist. And second step, declare that user ID as a risk owner in the below path. NWBC, setup, access owners and access control owners. So let us go first and create the first step. I will be creating a user ID in the backend system, that is GRC system, not backend, GRC. So that is nothing but GRC 100. So create an ID with the necessary authorizations. So let me keep it like this only again. BNZ underscore RSK underscore OWNR1. BNZ underscore RSK owner 1, risk owner 1. The role which has to be assigned, there are some standard roles. So generally in real-time scenario, we copy from these standard roles. So that role contains a GRAC word. So here if you search the roles properly, this is the role. SAP underscore GRAC underscore risk owner. Risk maintenance and risk analysis he is responsible for. And along with this role, you need to assign some normal few roles. Like a few roles in the sense, the generic roles like NWBC access T code. He needs NWBC T code access. And end user, he can act also end user, display access. And he will be an approver, access approver, or you can say requester. If he needs access, any access in the system, he will be requesting the access. So such roles. So these are common roles which we assign to every user. Role for end user or end user. Every end user should have this role. End user, display all, GRC base. Okay, fine. Assign them. So according to client requirement, some projects will not allow you to assign the standard roles. In that case, what you need to do is customize these roles. Copy from these roles into your custom naming convention format and then assign it to the user. So we can copy from these roles and name it in your customized format. Okay, so the ID is ready now. Now second step is declare the user ID as a risk owner in the below path. NWBC setup access owners and access control owners. So setup access owners. Now you can find the IDs. You can search create. Now search for the user ID which you created. So the name I given is BNZ. So you can see now the ID is available. And this ID you need to tick here. What will be his role and responsibilities? So risk owner, just tick it. And then save it. So if the same person can act as a multiple duties also, you can tick the multiple ones also if needed. If he is acting as a multiple roles and responsibilities. So any type of owner. So these are the types of owners we have in access control. Firefighter ID owner, firefighter role owner, risk owner, role owner, mitigation monitor, mitigation approver. First that has to be declared here. Only then the GRC will recognize that person as a particular owner. Now we have defined him here. So if you search the owner type. So how many role owners are there? We will see risk owners. Okay, from this screen, how many risk owners are there if you see? Yeah, how many people are there? LBG risk owner 1, BMW risk owner 1, BNZ risk owner 1. So now when you search in the risk ID to assign the owner, you will find only those 3 people. Search for your BNZ risk ID. So risk 1, open it, and here click on risk owners and then add. So risk owner, BNZ risk owner 1. See here, now you can see the 3 people. So this list, whatever you are seeing here, is coming from that actual access control owners tab. So if you don't find the required ID in the list, the problem could be the user is not defined in the access control owners link. So now I have defined the owner for this risk ID. BNZ underscore risk 1. So like this you can risk owner, you can define it for risk 2, BNZ underscore risk 2, risk 3 in the same fashion. Okay. So clear everyone regarding defining of a, open the third step, open the risk ID, define the above ID as a risk owner for that particular risk ID. Clear so far? Yes, any doubts before going ahead? Next topic.
Yeah, actually, here,
Mm-hmm.
this is custom risk ID. What about the standard one? Because actually the global rules that there are many risk IDs, right?
Exactly.
So who will define? So who will define the risk owner?
See, SAP does not know, right, who will be acting as a risk owners in your organization.
Yes. Yes, correct.
So they won't give you any risk owners by default in the system.
Okay.
So we have to define for each and every risk ID.
Okay. So you mean to say that in the global rule set for each risk ID we need to define.
Exactly.
For example, basis all the models.
Yes.
So we need to get the risk owner from the client and we need to define.
Exactly.
Okay. So is it mandatory, right?
Yeah, mandatory, because see, this is a problem generally what we face from the client. So people are interested in implementing GRC, but when you ask them who will be acting as a risk owner, they do not know first of all who will be the proper person who can act as a risk owner.
Okay.
So that is this is a generic common problem we face from the client.
Okay, but we supposed to define, right? We have to
Yes,
define the risk owner.
exactly. So there I'll give you one why this risk ID has to be defined. Okay, just a minute. Are you speaking on a speaker or?
Yeah. I'm speaking with speaker.
Okay, it is repeating. My voice is repeating again. Okay, so what I'm saying, say, if you are enabling workflow concept, for example, so just now I am able to create a risk ID without any intimation to anybody, right? So when I'm creating a risk ID, someone approval has to be taken. So that has to be automatically trigger a workflow. So when you trigger a workflow, there should be a concerned person who should be intimated. So if you are enabling workflow for even risk maintenance also, then the risk owner is mandatory. Otherwise, risk owner is not a mandatory thing. Clear, Anand? If you are enabling the workflow, automatic workflow,
Okay.
then the risk owner definition is mandatory because system automatically searches for the risk owner and it will send an intimation to them.
Okay.
But if you are not uh, uh, you are not enabling the workflow for risk maintenance, and if you are doing it manually, you can take a mail approval from your risk owner. You need not define them in GRC.
Okay. See where we are using that in real time, that enabling the workflow for
Okay, let me show
where
you.
in which.
Let me show you. Suppose now, as of now, the workflow is not enabled. I'll show you now how to enable the workflow. For example, so under SPRO settings, we have configuration parameters. So I discussed this during. I did not discuss, I guess, so far.
Actually, in real-time project without workflow, there is no GRC system. We have workflow configurations already.
Pardon, Raja? What is that you are saying?
Yeah, in real-time system, we have a couple of workflows already configured. So we have to process
Okay,
do
okay,
the
fine,
business
no
process.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, let me go to new entries. So did you remember the step under access control? SPRO, GRC, access control, maintain configuration settings. Here we have parameters basically. So these parameters will decide whether workflow is enabled or not, first thing. So let us go to risk analysis stuff. What are we doing? Risk, right? Yeah, risk analysis. Parameter ID. Search for risk maintenance. No, not risk analysis. You have to go for workflow related stuff. Sorry. Workflow. Here we have workflow. So you can see risk maintenance 1063 parameter. So it is risk maintenance 1063 parameter, and here yes I am keeping now. Okay. Now let us see what change you will see. Let me show you beforehand itself. When I want to create a risk ID, click on create. What do you see here? Tabs here. Save and close, correct? Now after enabling of this one, what tabs you will see, you just observe now. I am saving this parameter. It is getting captured in a transport request. Okay. Now click on create. Have you see the tabs here? This is called as workflow is enabled now. So means what happens here is when you try to create a risk ID, when you enter all the field values and click on submit, it will go to the person who is defined as a risk owner for approval. It has to go. Again, that workflow has to be, we have to design in the ARM component, last component. Clear, Anand?
Yes, I'm clear now.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm clear now.
Okay. Right, everyone? So if anybody else while practicing, if you see a submit button here, that means indirectly some parameter related to workflow is enabled. Only when that person, when you click on submit, system doesn't know where to go. So in that case, we have to define the risk owner mandatorily. If workflow is enabled, the risk owner is mandatory. If workflow is not enabled, not a mandatory thing. So going back, I am removing that parameter because the workflows we have not yet discussed so far. So I'll go back and remove that parameter. "1063" delete. So if you now open again, create, it will show again save button here. Now you can, without any intimation, without nobody's intimation, you can save the risk ID. Right. So clear everyone regarding the risk owner definition and how to define a risk owner. Now what is a duty? I said approving changes to the risk definitions and then violations of the risk. So what do you mean by violations of the risk? Risk analysis report is sent to risk owner. So once we generate the risk analysis report, so we have seen reports, right? SOD risk analysis, we have seen some other types of risk analysis reports. So that report is downloaded and will be sent to risk owner. It can be done in two ways, manual and again automated. Again, that is nothing but workflow concept. So when it is manual, you need to download the report, send it to the risk owner who is designated as a risk owner. All manual things. When it is automated, the report is automatically sent to that person. You need not download the report. You need not do anything else. Clear everyone? So risk analysis report is sent to risk owner in two ways. We can send it in two ways. One is manual. If ARM is not implemented fully, automated ARM concept, workflow concept is enabled. Even for sending of the report, risk analysis report. Clear so far?
Yeah.
Right. Let me go to the...
Actually, we need this document actually. So whatever the
Yeah. I'll be sending you. I have sent you already. Whatever the updates are done, I will be sending you after the updates, once updates are done.
okay,
I think I
right
have
now,
sent this document already once, right?
uh, maybe I haven't checked, but
Yeah, check your mails.
uh,
I have sent this document.
Yes, already you
the
have
thing
sent.
is,
Yes.
right now I'm not really getting time to work. I mean, doing the practical things, so that's the challenge right
Yeah,
now.
sure. After whatever the changes I'm doing now, again I'll be sending in the last class once again.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So moving on to next step. So once the report is sent, right, the risk owner has two choices. So far we have been concentrating only on the identification of the risk. Like it is a SOD risk or a critical action risk or critical permission risk. Even in simulation concept also, which I discussed yesterday, it is all about identifying whether upcoming risk will be there or not by assigning of new roles, etc., and all those things. Okay. So once the risk is identified, what is the next step? So the next step is, first priority would be removal of the risk, ensuring the user is not having that risk. That is the first priority. Okay. If that is not possible, in that case, sometimes it could not be possible, some scenarios, then we will try to reduce the risk. How will you reduce? So that we'll see later. So first of all, first priority, removal of a risk, to remediate a risk. Okay. Now tell me, risk remediation. So I said it means removing risk by, how can you remove a risk? By only removing access. Removing risk by removing access. So let me give an example here. So in the previous sessions we discussed about this risk. So if user has access to these T codes, like these two roles, so SU01 plus SCC4 is a risk causing combination. So now I want to remove that risk. So what should I do? When user has these two roles, this user has these two roles, SCC4 is combining with SU01, SCC4 is combining with PFUD, SCC4 is combining with PFCG and is causing risks. Similarly, SCC5 is also combining with all these T codes and causing the risks. So tell me, suggest me, if I want to avoid those risks, what should I do?
See, the first thing, probably remove one role from the user.
Exactly.
Or
either remove this role or this role.
right.
Then user will have access to only one function that is not causing a SOD risk. But still user may have critical action risk in the form of SCC5. If you remove security admin role to user, only this role will be available, so he will not have a SOD risk. But still, because of SCC5, user has critical action risk. Even if this critical action risk has to be removed from the user, now you need to think about modification of the role. Remove this T code from the role. Correct?
Yeah.
So in either cases, what you are trying to do is you are removing the access. Either removing the role from the user or removing the T code from the role.
Right.
So risk remediation concept is nothing but removing of access. Clear everyone? Risk remediation means removing risk, that is by removing access. So how to remove access is a question now. Remove role for a single user. Remove T code from a role if that risk is appearing for multiple users. If the risk is only for a one user, then remove that role which is causing that risk. If the risk is occurring for multiple users, then you need to think of removing a T code from the role. So clear everyone with these concepts? So this is done on daily basis. Like a single user, we will be remediating on daily basis. But this second concept for multiple users, will removing of a T code from a role will be done on long-term basis. Long-term basis means, so this risk analysis reports will be analyzed for a certain duration of time. Last 3 months reports, last 6 months reports, we analyze and we see which risk is repeating for large number of group of users. Suppose one risk is repeating for n number of users, more number of users. So you need to check why that risk is repeating for more number of users. So that may be because of some particular T code. So then you need to think, is that T code really needed by those users? Suppose a risk is there for 1000 users, same risk is appearing for 1000 users. And out of 1000 users, when you checked with those 1000 users, only 300 users need the T code, risk causing T code. Remaining 700 users do not need the T code, but they have that access to the T code, and that's why they are that is causing a risk. So now you need to think how to remove that T code for that 700 users. So that is what we take this concept, removing T code from the role. So the role which is assigned to that 700 users, we will be removing the T code, so that risk will be removed from all the 700 users, and create a separate role with that particular T code and assign it to the 300 users when the T code is needed for a particular set of group of users. Clear? So any doubts regarding these concepts? Just these 3 lines, what we have discussed now. So we'll see all these things in practically. When I remove a role and we run risk analysis, again, without removing also we can do simulation also again. Simulation concept is all about without doing actual changes to see the changes what happens. Okay, clear everyone? Shall I move ahead? Next concept. Yeah. Risk mitigation. So remediation means, I said, removing of access. As I told you in a given example, some user is there and the user needs SEC5 access. So in this example, user belongs to a basis team and he needs SEC5 access. So bench user belongs to a basis team, for example. So we can remove this role, security admin role. So that risk related to SOD risk will be removed. But because of this role, client admin role, SEC5 is a critical action, critical T code. So there is a critical action risk related to this user now. But he is saying, I want that access SEC5. If you remove SEC5 access to me, I cannot delete the unwanted clients in my system, which access which I need. Or he cannot do his actual duty if you remove some T codes. Like if you remove SEC4, for example, even SEC4 is a critical transaction. Sometimes we need to open the client. So in that cases, we need access to SEC4. And that is also one of the regular activity we do once in a month or once in at least 2 months. SEC5 may be rarely used, but SEC4 is regularly used. So SEC4 is also, if you define that as a critical T code, system will show that even also as a risk. Now user is saying, I need access to SEC4, and if you remove that, I cannot perform my daily duty. So you cannot remove the T code now, SEC4. So in that case, what is the option left out to you? You cannot remove SEC4 and SEC5 to user, but there is a risk to user with these T codes. Because of these 2 T codes, there is a risk to user. So what is the option you have to do? What option is left out to you now? Please suggest some, give me some suggestions. How it can be dealt with? Anand, I'm not able to hear you guys. Are you speaking? Not able to hear you. Both of you. Can you ping here? We can give the access and we need to monitor their work. Exactly. Yes, user needs SEC4 and SEC5. We need to give that access, but there is a risk associated with the T codes. So they can misuse that T codes also. So what Anand said is like we can give the access and we need to monitor their work. How can you monitor? Is a question. So what do you mean by monitoring? So for those people who did not catch this point, say for example, uh, coming to a real life example, we have people issue guns. They issue gun licenses in your day-to-day life to some people like VIP people. On what basis they issue guns? So generally, when you apply for a gun license, on some grounds, special grounds, there is a threat to your life, so you need to safeguard yourself. To protect yourself, you will be given you will be issued a gun license. So if someone is having a license of a gun and he is holding a gun, so that means there is a risk with that person. So he can use it for his own life safeguarding measures, or he can even use it in a negative way. He can even misuse that gun also. So the main point here is we need to monitor that person in such a way he is not misusing that gun. Clear, everyone? So when a user has a gun, it can be used in two ways, positive and negative. Positive means what? For to protect his life, to safeguard his life. He can use it. And he can also misuse it, killing somebody else and hunting animals, etc., etc. So he can misuse it. So we have to monitor him on regular basis so that he is using it in a positive way only. So how can we do that? It is nothing but monitoring task. So generally what people do, whoever has the gun license, generally in real-time scenario, the person has to go to the nearest police station. He has to show the gun and the bullets, proving that he has not used it. So on regular basis, he has not used it. So that is a monitoring work we are doing. So because he has to go to police station frequently on regular basis, nearby police station, he has to submit the gun, show them the gun and the bullets, whatever the bullets are issued to him. If he has 6 bullets, he has to show all the 6 bullets and proving that they have been not used. So that is what monitoring mechanism we are doing there, and it has to be the license has to be renewed on regular basis. It will not be given lifetime license. They will give you license for 1 year, and again on regular basis the license has to be renewed. So similarly, when you apply the same thing here also, we are giving access to this T code SCC4 and SCC5 to this user, and we need to monitor his using of this SCC4 and SCC5. So we should appoint some person who is in charge of only monitoring the activity related to done by this user related to these T codes SCC4 and SCC5, because those two T codes are risk causing T codes. So that is a normal human tendency. If somebody is watching you, or if you know that somebody is watching you, you don't do any mistakes. You will be alert. So if you have a CC camera in your floor, in your building, or in your somewhere, you behave
either